Live from the studios of NBC 12 and ABC 25, this is First Coast News at 11.
And right now at 11, heavy rains coming down across the First Coast and more is expected.
Now, the big concern overnight and for your morning commute is going to be flooding. So we want to get straight now to meteorologist Tim Deegan. You're tracking the storms. It could potentially be a treacherous commute in the morning.
Exactly. We've talked about this for a week. I think a week from now we'll say, wow, what great rains, but it's coming down in a short period of time and much of it overnight tonight while we're sleeping. And as Heather and Anthony mentioned, as we're trying to get to work and school in the morning. So here's pretty much the same picture we've seen all day. And that's one of the reasons why the rains are now increasing. But notice where the focus has shifted to. We're talking about the rains. Notice we do not have any tornado watches around the area. At the present time, the Severe Storms Forecast Office, at least right now, is stating that they're not going to put out any watches overnight. Might there be some isolated storms to produce some isolated wind damage? We can't rule that out. There's a lot of wind just above what we call the surface, but primarily the concern is for the rain. We don't have any flood warnings in effect. We have some flood advisories for Suwannee, Columbia, and Baker County, and I suspect we'll have advisories for Duval as well. That's more in the way of standing water on the roadways, use some caution type of rains. But again, I think we're going to see the rains redeveloping over the same regions, so we could see the flooding go up a notch about the time tomorrow morning as we're heading to work and school. I'll take you beyond tomorrow morning in just a few moments.
Tim, for all your hard work tonight. New tonight, police in Atlantic Beach are trying to figure out who opened fire twice this week. Several homes and a car were shot at, and someone was inside a home when it was hit with bullets. First Coast News reporter Julia Janae joins us from Atlantic Beach with the details tonight. Julia, what can you tell us?
That's right, Anthony. Two separate incidents within the last 3 days, and they're just a block away from each other. Multiple unexplained gunshots fired, prompting police to put out this release because those gunshots disrupting what's usually a very quiet beach community. Now, that first shooting happened on Robert Street on Sunday at around 3:30 a.m. Now, bullets were shot into a home with people inside, and I talked to one of the men inside the home who said he didn't want to be interviewed on camera, but he did say that he's not sure what to think if these shots fired were intentional or horseplay. Now, the shooting that happened today, rather, on Lewis Street happened at 2 p.m. today, and those gunshots, they say, came from multiple guns, one hitting an occupied home and others hitting an empty car. Now, no one was injured in either of these gunfire incidents, but police say they are not sure at this time if they are connected, but they're hoping to get more information from the public. They say that they're offering a reward through Crime Stoppers. If you have any information, you are urged to call 1-866-845-TIPS. That's 1-866-845-TIPS. Reporting live from Atlantic Beach, Julia Janae, First Coast News.
Julia, thank you. Now to the other big stories tonight. Clay County Sheriff Daryl Daniels has a strong message for those selling drugs. Get out of town. Earlier today, he charged an alleged drug dealer with murder after an 18-year-old overdosed on drugs police say that he sold her. Now, this is the first time that's happened here on the First Coast. Police say Trumaine Muller sold fentanyl to 18-year-old Ariel Brundage back in November. She overdosed and died. Her boyfriend and friend also charged with manslaughter for allegedly taking part in the drug deal. The Florida-Georgia game will stay in Jacksonville until at least 2020. Just a few hours ago, the City Council voted unanimously for a new contract. The longtime rivalry game brings in around $35 million in revenue to the city. Also new tonight, our area's second Costco will soon be coming to Jacksonville's west side. The retailer just got the green light to build a new location on Collins Road at 295. Now, some residents are really excited about the expansion. Others, though, in the Argyle Forest area, say they're concerned about increased traffic and noise.
Well, you've probably seen stories here on First Coast News before about deaf children who get cochlear implants, and then we show you the video of the child hearing his mother or father's voice for the first time. The reactions, you know, are beautiful, for some at least. But there is a whole other world out there that looks at those videos, those cochlear implants, as anything but beautiful. In fact, they just can't stand them. As our Lewis Turner explains this story, we're live broadcasting a sign language interpreter to tell you a little bit more about this.
If it isn't broken, don't fix it. Pretty timeless phrase with a pretty simple premise. But it all revolves around knowing what is broken. For instance, let me turn off this microphone. I'll turn this back on, and we're going to meet two families now, both facing deafness in very different ways, very different perspectives, and both would insist neither is broken. When a child is born, numbers are everywhere.
Oh, she's sweet. She's a sweet little girl.
Pounds, ounces, length.
Beckett was about 24 hours old when they took him for his newborn hearing screening.
And for both of these families, an even more important number became decibels of sound.
And the nurses let me know that he had failed.
The hearing screen pumps 90 decibels of sound into the baby's ear. The level of a Mack truck driving by, and neither baby here heard it.
There was no response from the brain, which is high as they go. Like an airplane.
So much common ground between these families of four, generational deafness, and totally different reactions to the news that their babies were born profoundly deaf.
Here I'm married to a man that's deaf, and still it's a shock to the system when they say, you know, your baby didn't pass his hearing exam.
On the other hand,
Yes, Mama said. He said yes,
Wow.
right. See, she's proud of that. Yeah, yeah, because I want my children, I wanted to have a deaf child, a totally deaf child.
and that is where the common ground ends.
My name is Judy, J-U-D-I. The last name is spelled H-I-L-L-S, Hills, and hi there.
Judy is deaf, speaks to me through Barbara, the American Sign Language interpreter, and you heard that right. She was excited when she was told her now 1-year-old Eva was born totally deaf.
Eva, I would like her to be like she is.
Eva is the 8th generation in Judy's family born deaf, which comes with a sense of pride.
Total deaf power, you know. I am just like, Eva and I we're both deaf, and we're fine with that. We communicate. I communicate with her in my sign language. And
This is the Tweet family,
No.
Jillian and Aaron. Aaron is profoundly deaf.
Look at that thing and point it at me. Hi.
This is their son Ryder, who decided to take a go with my camera.
Hi, Beckett.
And this,
My name's Beckett. Okay, we all know that by now, Beckett.
well, we've met this 5-year-old before. He was born profoundly deaf, and we focused on his cochlear implants that allows him to hear and through therapy allows him to speak.
I said a big circle. Does this look like a big circle?
It allows him to go to a mainstream school.
Beckett Tweet, close your eyes.
Jennifer Carlton's kindergarten class at Julington Creek Elementary.
He is just another one of the guys.
But the decision to get these implants for Beckett did not come easy.
We had a hard time going through that, but then when the doctor suggested cochlear implant, and at first, I'm standing back in the room with my arm crossed to say, no.
What is it that you want for your son? And he said, I just want him to have it a little bit easier than I did.
So I want the best for my boy.
In place, so that would connect
Beckett
to
was
that.
13 months old when he got those implants. Aaron decided to get them then too.
I'm going to change my whole life, get myself a CI also, so I'm there for him.
But here is where the conflict comes up. There are many in the deaf culture who think cochlear implants are bad, abusive, in fact. Take a look at this article here, saying not everyone who's deaf wants to be, quote, fixed. And even more, 2 articles, including a Time magazine piece implying that cochlear implants are a form of deaf cultural genocide.
People call us ignorant parents that would, you know, take away from their community.
Now, back to Judy and Eva.
And if Eva, if she was to decide that she wanted to get a cochlear implant, I would say no. I wouldn't give her the permission to do that. When she's 18, she's willing. She can do that. That would be her decision, but it would be her decision to make, not mine.
In the end of the day, we each get a choice for our family and for our children, and this choice was right for us.
that's their decision. But as for me and my own children, absolutely not. Of course.
Two opinions that couldn't swing much further apart.
Mama.
But common ground can still be found with these families.
Beckett's deaf. At the end of the day, Beckett takes his cochlear implant off.
But I tell you, deaf people can. They can do what hearing people do.
With plenty of other things to share from their baby book. In St. Johns County, I'm Lewis Turner, First Coast News.
What a fascinating story. And right now we have someone signing our newscast live. You can join in on this story, on the conversation, and see the newscast sign live on the First Coast News Facebook page. All right, now to a superfan who today became, let's say, an ultimate superfan. So this picture right here, just look at the smile on his face. Adam Alish's favorite band, Imagine Dragon. It's a group that performed this past weekend on the Billboard Music Awards. Well, today they flew to Jacksonville to surprise him with a jam session right there in his home. And First Coast News' Chari Rodriguez shares his amazing story.
I don't know what to say, to be honest with you. Just best day of my life. Totally unforgettable.
Imagine if your favorite rock band of all time showed up at your house.
And they banged on the door and I was like, am I dreaming? Like, cause I could see him through there and I was like, all right, what's going on? Like, I'm like in my underwear, like I wake up and like throw pants on real quick and I'm like, hey, don't leave.
Yep, that happened. Tuesday morning, Adam Alish got the surprise of a lifetime when Imagine Dragons showed up at his front door. This all started when the group released its new album cover on Twitter about 3 weeks ago.
They're notorious for hiding secrets in their albums.
He zoomed in on the cover and was the first one to decode the hidden message.
9/4/2012.Vegas, and you type that in as a website.
He says he had no idea when he entered his name and address on the website that they would actually fly to Jacksonville, Florida to surprise him. Before you know it, boom, they're in his living room playing one of his favorite songs.
Adam, thanks for being so rad and following us all this years. Love you. And then they all signed it. Pretty much everything around my room they signed, and I was like, yeah, I'm totally cool with that.
In Jacksonville, I'm Chari Rodriguez, First Coast News.
Wow. Now, Adam says the band also took him out to lunch today at Angie's. Then he gave them a tour of the Publix grocery store where he works. He says a lot of people came up wanting their autograph, wanting pictures with them. He also won a meet and greet to spend more time with the band at their show when they perform in Orlando this November. So definitely a day he will never forget.
Not at all. How cool is that? Okay, let's talk about something. We received a lot of calls and emails tonight about a weather cut-in we did during The Voice finale on NBC and Dancing with the Stars over on ABC. In fact, I was in the newsroom helping to answer your phone calls. We understand your frustration. We understand you wanted to see your favorite show. But there was a tornado warning in multiple counties, including Duval, and we just want you to know your safety is our #1 priority. As soon as we could, we went back to programming for you. Well, teenagers often struggle with issues their parents know nothing about. So in just 2 minutes, we have an eye-opening report on what teens wish they could really tell you.
Plus, a terrifying incident at the Jacksonville Zoo. An ape hurls a brick at a guest. What officials think motivated this?
And believe me, I don't do this just to hear my own voice. Instead, to talk about what's to come. This is what's to come in more detail in just a few moments.
Well, moms and dads, if you have a teenager, chances are they're in the room right now with the door closed. And don't you wish you knew what they were thinking or maybe worried about?
Well, tonight we open that door for you with our series, If My Parents Only Knew. It's an eye-opening look at the stresses and the fears teenagers rarely talk about with their parents.
I'm personally just scared of what, my future holds. Every time at a family gathering, have you decided where you're gonna go to college yet?
You're on your own. For the first time, you are legitimately on your own.
I don't actually have any idea what I want to do with my life. As you can hear, I'm very afraid.
So the biggest fear that I have in life is honestly the feeling of being left out by my friends.
You're not thin enough, you're not thick enough, you're not this enough. And I feel like those are amplified in high school, and it really sucks.
The youngster might have problems sleeping, irritation, their diet changes. A parent might say, well, that defines a regular teenager. But if you start to see these reactions going on for at least 2 weeks or longer, that's when you might need to get some help.
Every time I do say something, it goes through one ear and right out the other.
I don't want to tell them, hey, I'm feeling depressed, I have really bad anxiety right now, because they may feel like, well, what am I doing wrong?
But you should never worry about it making me feel bad. If it's something I can help you with, I want to do that.
The pressure to perform. Whew. Forget sleep, forget having a social life. I constantly find myself working and overextending myself.
The expectations are so high that when you jump for that, you're afraid you're gonna fall.
For me, I'm sorry about the pressure, but I'm gonna always be proud of you no matter what you do. Because you're my kid, that's enough. I'll always love you because you're mine.
Oh. Well, some of the teens shared video diaries with their parents. You can see their reaction on our website, firstcoastnews.com. Plus, an expert weighs in on how to spot the signs of depression and where to go for help.
A local mom and her 2 daughters got quite a scare at the Jacksonville Zoo. So look at this. Diane Steen went to the zoo for the first time yesterday since she's new to the area. So as they're watching the bonobos exhibits, one of those apes picked up a part of a cement block and hurled it right at the family.
Happy that none of us got really injured or anything. It was just crazy.
I tucked my son's head into my neck, I ducked below the rail, and darted off, towards behind the pillar. When I think about it, I still get shaken up. My stomach gets all queasy.
Now, this all happening at the Jacksonville Zoo. Steen says she feels like it may have been partly their fault. She realized later that they were kind of loud and laughing. Zoo officials say it more likely has to do with their temperament, as these types of apes are naturally inquisitive creatures, and they're not aggressive like chimps, unless you're talking about their physical bond. Good news is no one was hurt.
So right now, right across the street from First Coast News, you're looking live at Daly Place, where we are just 4 days away from the first concert. Hometown favorite, the Tedeschi Truck Band will be performing with John Cleary. Then on Tuesday, Dave Matthews Band will be here. Crews tell us they are putting together the final touches, and they say they will be ready by Saturday. You can see some purple lights there.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like it's raining out there. We certainly have had quite the downpour this evening.
We have, and there's more on the way. Going to check it out on radar. Right now it's coming down at almost about 1 inch an hour. So that's heavy, but that's normally not quite heavy enough for widespread flooding, although enough for some standing water on the roadways. It could go up the next notch by tomorrow morning, though, so make sure you get up early and check things out to see if that standing water is in fact turning into flooding. What about the concern for damaging winds? We do not expect from the Severe Storms Forecast Office a tornado watch overnight, but might there be some strong winds within the thunderstorms? There are. I have what's on called now the vertical integrated liquid. That's just a way to look at amongst all the rain, where might a thunderstorm cell be strong enough to produce some strong wind gusts. There's a couple crossing I-10 heading from the southwest to the northeast, but nothing too intense. Probably the strongest was this system that came out of Alachua County and across Putnam County. Still pretty strong, but not quite to what we would call damaging, and if anything, that's beginning to weaken. So again, overnight tonight through the early morning hours, you're going to hear rumbles of thunder, you're going to hear occasional rain, but I think it's going to stay below damaging wind level. We'll keep you updated, and I know Mike Prangley's coming in early. Then on Wednesday, it's going to start early, or maybe I should say it's going to continue. So don't plan on just an afternoon thunderstorm on Wednesday. Many of us will at least start the day with wet roads, and some of us will start the day with gusty, wet conditions. Boating tomorrow, not a good idea near the beach as well, because although there might be a glimpse of sun, there's going to be thunderstorms, and even outside the thunderstorms, there will be some gale force gusts. So around the area, Ponte Vedra to St. Augustine, if anything, the rains will be on the increase. Orange Park, Fleming Island, again, the rain will be with us early. Out toward Union, Bradford, and Baker, especially the rural roads, that's where we might start to have some flooding problems. As we expand the picture beyond the metro, Waycross rain in the morning might give way to a Carolina. Thunderstorms during the afternoon. So pretty much that type of story as we go through the day on Wednesday. Here's another way to look at it. This 60% on Thursday is pre-sunrise. After sunrise, we will be clearing. We'll be playing ball on Thursday night. Friday morning should be beautiful. For now, we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.